You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunt for the Perfect Album. I'm Billy, he's Dave, and this week it's an album that I gave you. Ain't that right, mate?
Sure is.
And you've been mocking me all week. You've just popped a 16% beer, saying that you needed to get through this episode. Not the first time you've pulled shit like this, so I don't believe you for a second. I have full confidence that this is one of the best albums ever released, so I'm fine with it. We are talking the Beths, Expert in a Dying Field. Fairly new band. As mentioned, I discovered them through my adoration of Charlie Bliss. Their first full-length album, Future Me Hates Me, came out in 2018, and that was when I discovered them from memory through Spotify-related artists, as I tend to discover things these days. And I adore them. I think they've gotten better with every album, and I think that they have reached near perfection with this one. I think I haven't given it to you yet. One of my favorite albums of all time is Fountains of Wayne, Welcome Interstate Managers, which I think before this came out was the perfect power pop album. This just edges it.
That's the Stacey's mum fuckers, right?
Yes, it is. And that is the album that song is on.
Leah keeps putting it on. It's one of her favourite tracks. Every time I go, can I skip this?
No, that is the worst track on that album. That's what sucks about that, because that album is fucking incredible. So let's get into this then. I'm curious to hear if you actually enjoyed this or not, because as mentioned, they are playing in Sydney in about 3 weeks, and if I can convince you to come see them with me.
Go on a fucking date.
So let's get into it and tell me about the Beths.
Let me just say, I'll go on the date with you because this album fucking slaps.
Fuck yes, it does. I knew it. Like I said, you'd been teasing me. I knew you couldn't be for real because this album is too good. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to wait to give them to you on the show, but I could have just as easily given you any of their previous albums. So go and check them all out.
This is probably the album I've only listened to it twice. So I completely forgot what the fuck I was doing until late yesterday. And then just basically chucked it on in the car, and I've listened to it like maybe 2.5 times. I did a kind of a skippy listen just to try and remember on the way home today which were the tracks that I liked best and that sort of thing. But at this point in time, this is the album of all the albums you've given me, and we're up to episode about 9,000 on this show now. This is probably the one at this point that I've enjoyed most, apart from Charlie Bliss.
Yeah.
So the two Charlie Bliss albums, kind of head and shoulders above everything else. This is next.
Yeah. I'm so glad you feel that way. Yep.
There are no tracks on this that I don't really, really like.
Yep.
There's maybe 4 or 5 that are just nudged ahead, and that I can kind of go, okay, well, these are the ones I like better. But I really like everything on the album. You're pretty close to that whole perfect album concept with this.
As I said, I think that this is, and I really cannot wait to give you Fountains of Wayne at some point, because I have discovered as I've gotten older, I always thought I was a twee kid. I always thought that my bread and butter was twee music, which, the Lucksmiths, Math and Physics Club, I've given you lots of that stuff before, which is a little bit softer and more jangly style of pop. But, I've discovered that what I really love is power pop. It's pop with a slightly harder edge. It's pop where people actually genuinely play their instruments. It's the Beths, it's Charlie Bliss. There's a couple
of tracks in here that have some unexpectedly kind of harsh, distorted guitar that just pops in. And none of the tracks are full on metal or thrash or anything.
No.
But weirdly, in the middle of a nice song, you'll suddenly get and one track in particular has some serious fucking distorted guitar in it.
Fountains of Wayne are exactly the same.
Loved it.
Fountains of Wayne are exactly the same. They have some songs that start on piano and end with thrashing guitars, and this is probably actually the Beth's softest album, I'll say. I think that prior to this, I would have more defined them as pop punk, whereas this is definitely leaning more towards that power pop branding. But geez, so all right, let's kick into it then. I'd love to hear which songs are your favorites.
All right, well, we're going to kick off with one of them. The title track is a fucking banger. I loved it.
Isn't it just? This was
just gorgeous.
Yeah. From the second I heard this track, it was just on a loop in my head. And my kids can tell you that. Like, if we're in the car and we're taking turns picking songs, it's either this or one other Beth song, which is from an earlier album. But fuck, I love this track.
I swear I've never heard of it, and I can close the door on us, but the room still exists, and I know you're in it. Hours of phrases I've memorized, thousands of lines on the page, all of my notes in a desolate pile I haven't touched in an age, and I can burn the evidence, but I can't burn the pain, and I can't forget it. How does it feel to be an expert in a dying field?
Fuck. Oh, man, I love that song so much. She is such a phenomenal songwriter, Liz Stokes. And she has a gorgeous voice.
The writing is great, but her voice is just astonishing.
It's so clean.
Some of that sort of Joni Mitchell, and so few singers can do this, but that Joni Mitchell ability to kind of push higher, but not crack. So it's just But it's still totally controlled, even though it sounds like it's gone past the point of control.
Yep.
But it's still controlled.
Yeah, I know.
And the only other person I can think of is Joni Mitchell. Maybe Amy Mann's another one.
Yeah.
But there's not many. And that track in particular, but several of the others as well.
Yeah.
It's clearly in evidence. She's a fucking great singer.
She is incredible. And I love, one of the kind of defining things about the Beths, for me at least, is those backing vocals, which are kind of 60s, kind of Beatles-ish. Even on their earlier albums, which are a lot heavier, that's kind of one of their defining traits, is those backing vocals that come in. And I just love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. Track 2 is another one I really, really, really liked. So, this album was off to a flying start because there's no tracks I dislike, but all the tracks that are probably not quite in my top whatever are all in the second half. So it just went from strength to strength for the first sort of 5-6 tracks.
With no scar, no memory, I'm envious, why pretend I'm not? Wading in up to the ankles, the cold speaks straight to my bones, whole body and soul hesitation, I am a coward turned to stone, I stay there.
One of my other favorite things about her is just how unabashedly unashamed she is to be a Kiwi, which, like, there are so many bands and artists and stuff.
We haven't got to track 7 yet, but there's some fabulous.
I mean, I think it's the final track of this album, which is one of my favorites, where she rhymes spin with then. Because
Spin and then.
Yeah, because there's so many bands and artists you listen to, especially like Australian ones, who will try and hide that. And it's like, no.
It's just, we'll get to it, but one of my favorite tracks is Bis Dift.
Yeah, same. Yep.
Now, track 3, I swear, and I said this the first time it came on in the car, I said, I've fucking heard this. Has this been in something? Because I've heard this track before. Was it a single?
don't know.
Not that I would have heard a single because I don't listen to the fucking radio or whatever the equivalent is.
I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think these guys have had many big hits.
I mean, they must have got, because I read that they supported Taylor Swift on a tour, so they must have kind of got some notoriety. And
yeah, I believe that was in a European tour. I don't think that
okay.
Yeah, I think that's more that they were big in the location. So Spotify is saying 300,000 monthly listeners, which is a lot bigger than some of the other bands I've given you, but it's still
double Laurie Anderson.
Yes, but it's still very low.
Yeah.
You know, I think so. Their biggest track, according to Spotify, is
weird.
This Doesn't Surprise Me, Future Me Hates Me, which was from their first album. 11 million streams on that one, and that was a single.
A lot.
Yeah.
Weird, because I swear I'd heard Silence is Golden before.
Like a flock of birds flying out of the trees into the sky, and he sound will set me off. I'm gonna hurl now, strapped to my seat and into the ride. Somebody please let me off. Maybe I'll break, just shatter, disperse like cracks in a glass. Never hold a drink again. Hey, there's a feedback making it worse. A million hertz, I can hear the ring again. The sound, the sound, the sound, the sound, the sound.
That's another great example of how amazing it is that her voice can transcend genre. Like that one is a heavier, almost thrashier song, but geez, she just love it.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get to the stupid 30-second rule. We didn't get to the chorus, but I was really, the first time it came, I was listening to that chorus, I was going, I have heard this before. I don't know where. And I don't, maybe it's just that it is, the chorus is quite
Simple.
and repetitive as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's basically the same. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe I'd listened to this before and not remembered it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird. Track 4 though, one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Fucking
okay.
good.
Yeah, I
good track.
enjoy that one
Love
too.
it.
Yeah.
If this is life, then why do you have to leave? I'm working in the morning, wasted in the evening, staring into nothing, faded into sleep, then back again, again. I wanna see you knocking at the door. I wanna leave you out there waiting in the downpour, singing that you're sorry, dripping on the whole floor. But here I go again, mixing drinks and messages.
This is one of the hardest albums for me to stick to that lower limit. Oh, fuck it.
Well, apart from the fact a lot of them have got a long fucking intro.
Yeah.
No one's listening to us and
Nah, fuck it. I'm pumping
fucking
it.
reporting it.
To be by your side.
Yeah. Nah. Oh man. I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed this album.
No, I really enjoyed. Like I said to the kids, this is apart from Charlie, this is the best thing you've given me.
Yeah. Nice.
Track 5, I want to listen. I don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
It's sandwiched between two of my favorites. I don't fucking remember it. I know I liked it because I like everything on this album, but if it's one of your favorites, play it. Otherwise, we'll get on to Head in the Clouds.
No, let's roll on with Head in the Clouds, my friend.
Head in the Clouds fucking rules.
I could be on my knees,
Afraid to wake the neighbours? What's going on?
giving it my best defense, praying for it not to end. If it went differently, we could be the finest friends, faithful in the realest sense. But there's no soft white light, no one listening to me at night. It's the goodbye. I'm stuck waiting for a sign.
Yeah. Great track.
both this and the next one, Bistlift,
Yeah.
have a little warble in the vocals. I think I've said this before on previous albums where I love when a vocalist surprises you.
Yeah.
There's kind of the delivery that you would expect from a line.
Yeah.
And if they throw a little warble in and I don't mean that bullshit Mariah Carey unnecessary vocal gymnastics shit, but just a little something unexpected in the
just
delivery.
A little treble, yeah.
I love it. And they both Head in the Clouds and Bestift have that, and it makes them stand out. And that's two of my favorite tracks on the album.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big reasons.
If I knew this, I'd be list down.
Yeah.
Already up, yeah, to my neck now. Some things are best left to run.
Yeah. Just a phenomenal songwriter. Like, I can't say it enough how well written I think this album is. Like, it is so catchy and poppy, but lyrically so good. Like you said, the little trebles and everything in the voice. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Fantastic. I mean, here we are on track, what is it, 7? And there's only been one track so far that wasn't memorable enough for you to like remember it after 2 listens. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. And look, I can tell you now that there's 2 that I don't recall well enough to remember. I know I liked them all. Every single track in the car, and all the listening was in the car with this one because I've been going to and from work and stuff. Every single track, I was like, I love this. This is great. The first time I listened to it through, I had Ayla in the car with me. The 2 of us were sitting there. Ayla was like, oh, this is one of the best things he's given you.
Yeah. Yep.
We were both going, and we got halfway through, and I said, "Have you got a favorite?" She said, "I've got like 3."
Yeah, yeah.
And I was the same. So there are the next track, "Changing the Weather," and track 10, "A Passing Rain." I don't specifically recall. I just know I didn't want to. I didn't want to skip them, and I really enjoyed them.
Okay, I'll leave Changing the Weather then to play out the show because that's one of my faves from the album. I like that one a lot.
It might be one of mine. Yeah. I just don't. There's not a specific thing like a warble or a this or a thrashy guitar or a something that I recall. Whereas When You Know,
yeah,
might be my favorite track on the album.
Yeah, it's a great
I've
track.
not yet decided, but it's definitely in the running. It's a fucking baller.
Yeah, we actually still haven't reached my favorite, but I love this track.
Walking on the wire, and all the while aspiring to keep my little eye from looking down. Your beauty in the fore, and you unfold in story arc denouement I could keep rolling toward. But if you were committed to the expedition, I could go alone on a solo mission. If I seen a hide in a worse condition, pinning all my hopes to the wrong pink cushion. But if you wanna try, we could live it all tonight. We could be a glow in the street light running down the road to jog the memory.
Love that song. That's the first track that very much confirmed for me that the Beths are fans of Fountains of Wayne. Like, you can hear it in a lot of their stuff, but that track 100% could be off Traffic and Weather or Welcome Interstate Managers.
I've
some
got to hear
great
this
Fountains of
fucking
Wayne
band
bands.
because
this song
nothing about that
100%.
track says Stacey's mum to me.
No, that's what I mean. That's the worst track. It's a gimmick song, which just became a hit because it was a gimmick. I'm telling you, the rest of Fountains of Wayne...
It's a problem when you're a one-hit wonder.
This song, When You Know, is 100% Wayne inspired. It's, yeah.
All right. Take your word for it.
In fact, I'll give them to you next. I'll do that. Yeah, that's going to be your next
better
album
be good
from
then.
me. Yeah.
Better be good because I'm not a fan of Stacey's mum. A Passing Rain you can intro because I genuinely don't remember it. All I know is that I didn't dislike it because I liked everything on this album.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that's fair.
I told you that I Was Afraid is one of my favourites. Fucking love it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. This, I mean, I like this one, but it's not one of my favorites. Let's give it a spin.
Never awake. They told me back at school that it would happen. I believed it till I didn't. I told you that I was afraid of stating my opinion in a clear and honest way. They told me in my youth it wasn't needed. Some thoughts are best deleted. Everyone agreed. I don't know what I'm getting up for. I don't know what I'm getting up for.
I mean, yeah, it's that little hook there is fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
again, not one of my faves, but I
it's
love
got
it.
a little bit, and it may be just where it is on the album and what it was preceded by and what follows it, but it had a little bit of that kind of what is it, early 2000s kind of rocky pop that you get, the kind of Jimmy Eat World, that sort of era. What's the Harvey Danger, that kind of Flake Pulse, that sort
totally
of stuff,
get
which
that.
I was seriously into, and I think this had maybe it's something about the tempo or something. It just kind of it had that sort of energy to it, and it kind of spoke to me.
Yeah, no, I fully get that. Yep. So then
2 a.m., which I think is probably your favorite.
It is. It's my favorite. Yeah.
I like it. Not my favorite though.
Well, and it's grown on me exponentially. It was certainly not my favorite. I've listened to this album multiple times since it dropped just over a year ago. For the longest time, Expert in a Dying Field was hands down my favorite track. And then, Best Left, Your Side, Changing the Weather, just so many more just started speaking to me. But upon multiple re-listens, there is something about 2 a.m. that really, really touches me. I think her songwriting on this track is just exceptional. It reminds me a lot of one of my favorite Lucksmiths tracks, which is very un-Lucksmiths. But on First Frost, the last album they released, they have a track called How We Met, which is almost Nine Inch Nails-ish in its composition, which sounds weird when you're talking about the Lucksmiths, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when you listen to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And this track kind of feels a bit similar to me. I adore this song.
Do you feel it like you did back then? 2 a.m. we were pounding the pavement, and I wonder, could we be that way again? Still awake, talking late in the kitchen.
I love the way this song progresses, the way that it builds and builds until we get to that really heavy distortion at the end.
Never fails to make you cry, so we stared straight ahead for the whole time, and the future never seemed to be as bright as it was in the glow of your headlight.
I love that song. I love it. Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just grown on me so much. I'm so glad you liked this album, and
I don't dislike it. I don't dislike anything on this album.
You have to go check out their other albums, Jump Rope Glazers and Future Me Hates Me.
Well, for sure.
Both of which
Absolutely.
fantastic. I think, like I said, a little bit more leaning on the punky side maybe than this album, which I think gets a bit poppier.
Cool.
But just fantastic. Oh, so you're going to come with me March 1st? We'll go check them out at Endor.
Oh, yeah. Yes to the date. I'm there.
Nice. You know what we should do? We should try and message them on Twitter or something and see if we could do like an interview or something with them.
I'll leave that with you. But yes, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. I'm so glad
I can't pick a one for the playlist yet. It's either Expert in Dying Field, Your Side, Best Left, or When You Know You Know.
Nice.
But I need to give it a few more listens before I can pick between those.
Well, obviously, it's your album for me next week, but I can tell you now already that I'm going to give you Welcome Interstate Managers by Fountains of Wayne for my next pick. So if you want to get on it early, go ahead. What are you going to give me next week, though?
All right. So for several weeks, I've been intending to give you arguably my favorite Australian band of all time. And then at the last minute, I've given you something else on a whim. Are you familiar with the Aussie band Red Gum?
Oh, the name is
you
very
would probably
familiar.
know.
I was going to say, do they have
track.
like one hit?
Yeah, well, there's one song in
Spotify.
particular called "A Walk in the Light Green" or "I Was Only 19."
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's their most played track on Spotify.
I would imagine by miles their most played track.
Yeah.
But there's a few others. There's a song called "The Drover's Dog" about Bob Hawke, which got a fair bit of airplay.
Yeah, okay.
They were at their heyday in the 80s.
Yeah.
Alongside the likes of Chisel and Midnight Oil, etc., as a pub band.
Yeah.
Very similar to Midnight Oil in that almost every track is political in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. Yeah.
But a lot more kind of whimsy and satire. Midnight Oil, pretty much every track is serious.
Yeah.
Red Gum have some serious songs that are ballads or that are just a serious political song. They have some songs that are, they're still political, but they're comedic, satirical songs.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate in, it would have been 1984.
Yep.
The year before high school, I was in Scouts, and our Scoutmaster was the coolest fucker on the planet. He used to let us smoke. He took us to see Red Gum in a pub because it was the early 80s and that sort of shit just happened. And it just changed my life. It was the first, obviously, live thing I'd ever seen. And it was right at the point in their career where they had the balance between sort of Australiana ballads and comedic songs. And the lead singer, John Schumann, was a great sort of stage presence. He was very personable. Half the show was him talking to the audience, interspersed with songs. So it fucking ingrained itself in my brain, and I've loved them ever since.
Yeah, right.
I'm pleased that you're not very familiar with them, but on the flip side, it
makes
it
hard for which
tricky,
album to give. Yeah,
because the one that I was sort of in the lead up was going, oh, give him this one. And then I went and looked at it and went, oh, that's right. It's a fucking live album. It doesn't kind of count because it's not an album. It's a live album. So
it's a tricky one. I've got a compilation on my list of perfect albums that I was like, I can't give him this because, you know. Yeah.
So what I'm going to give you, sadly, is missing a lot of the songs that I want to give you. But as an album, I think it's probably the best one to or do I? All right.
Okay. Or
vamp for 5 seconds while I
do we make an exception just this once and say you can give me a live album, I can give you a compilation. What if we do it as a special episode?
All right. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you Red Gum. There's an album called Caught in the Act, which is a live album.
Yeah.
So in essence, it's not a best of. It's missing a bunch of stuff, but it's got a few things from a couple of albums.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is the best encapsulation of Red Gum because you get John Schumann's persona introducing the songs and stuff.
Excellent.
So it's a better encapsulation. So
well, I'm happy with that because it does mean down the track I'm allowed to give you a compilation because I've had one on my list of perfect albums for ages and I'm like, I know it doesn't count.
We've long since got to the point where the idea of, hey, here's an album I think is perfect that you have never heard before. It's starting to run aground because finding, and I mean, you're maybe not finding, I'm finding that I'm compromising a bit on the albums that I think are the best because I'm trying to find shit you haven't heard before and expose you to new stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, we need to loosen the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it'll make the show better.
We're deep enough in. We can do that now. So, all right. I'm looking forward to checking out that live album. That's going to be good fun. All right. Well, that's next week. And thank you for joining us here on the hunt for the perfect album. I'm going to play you out with a little bit of the Beths.
Nice.